Okay, meditation again. Nine McQueen and 9 sent me a video this morning about neuroplasticity, and it was a video in 3 parts actually. It was with Dan Rather, talking to various scientists and also talking to the Dalai Lama about this thing, neuroplasticity, which is the ability of the brain to be reshaped during life, depending on what we do with it and what we choose to push through it, and the way we choose to push things through and around our brains. And specifically, it was to do with this research that's pretty du jour right now, where you look at meditators, particularly like Franciscan nuns, or in this case Buddhist monks, to see what effect that meditation is having on their brain. And of course, it's pretty well known by now that sure enough it does have an effect on your brain, increases the amount of gamma that's going on in there, and actually makes structural changes. You get more grey matter and more connectivity or something like that, which is, is all well and good, really. Sounds nice. There was 2 problems I had with, I think it's just problems with this particular video actually, not the whole idea, but there were 2 problems I had. The first thing was that this video kept focusing upon happiness. Now, it's kind of fine, but I don't know, it just seems like there's something better you can spend 10,000 hours of your time doing. That was the kind of figures they were talking about, between 10 and 50,000 hours in order to be really good at it. I think there must be something better you can do with all those hours, rather than just make yourself happy. That seems a bit of a, possibly even a selfish end point, but certainly a bit of a small end point. I mean, even the Dalai Lama was saying that, he was saying that being happy was the kind of goal almost. I suppose, he's kind of intimating that there would be societal benefits if people were happier, and I'm sure he's right, and a lot of the meditation was what's called loving kindness meditation, which is to do with developing compassion, or at least thinking compassionate thoughts or something like that, or extending, just staying in that moment of compassion for hours on end. And I imagine that if you do that long enough, you turn into a more compassionate person, and that can't be a bad thing. And of course, if you are spending 50,000 hours meditating, then you're not doing something else, are you? So I suppose just in that regard, you're saving the world's resources or something. So there are benefits, but just as I said, just this focus on the positive psychology of meditation, that it would make you happier, just seemed a bit of a low bar to set, really, for something which was attracting so much hyperbole around it, so much talk around it. Just seemed a bit pointless. If it's just that thing which you can probably achieve just through medication and pharmaceuticals. Being happy isn't hard, just take happy pills. So that was that. The other thing was to do with this 10,000 hours actually, because Dan Rather was talking to the Dalai Lama and saying, would you be willing to submit yourself to some of these tests? Would you strap on the electroencephalogram, or would you put your head in an fMRI machine and be tested? And the Dalai Lama was laughing, of course, as he always does, and he said, well, he would, but there's no point, because he's not good enough at it. He hasn't got enough practice. There's far more skilled meditators than he is that would be suitable for that kind of experiment. Because basically, you were saying he just doesn't have the time to put in the hours. If you need to do 10,000 hours or 50,000 hours, that's quite a number of hours a day for quite a number of years. And he says he hasn't got the time. I guess his time is, he's a famous guy, isn't he? His time is taken up doing stuff. But I was thinking, if the Dalai Lama hasn't got time to do it, the Dalai Lama, what chance do the rest of us have? What chance does those of us who've got kids, or jobs, or just live in the kind of Western lifestyle that's actually quite difficult to step outside of? What chance do we have to carve that amount of free time around our existence in order to do the brain improvement thing, in order to be compassionate and happy, even if it was just that, or something else, whatever that might be. I just don't think there's time. We'd have to find a faster way of doing it, a faster, more efficient way of doing it, speed yoga, that kind of thing. And I'm sure that, most people would say there's no shortcuts, and they're possibly right. But that would be such a shame if there wasn't any shortcuts. It did remind me of this other article I was looking at about integrative body-mind therapy, which is this therapy technique, this meditation technique, I think, that there's been bits and things written about recently, because again it seems to demonstrate the creation of structural changes in the brain, not just pleasant feelings for a few hours, but actual long-lasting structural changes and increasing grey matter, I think it said. And it was claiming that those kind of changes can take place in a shorter period of time as 11 hours. So just 11 hours doing this stuff can make a change. You know, if it was something like that, that's worth doing. You know, I wouldn't mind dedicating a weekend to getting that thing nailed down if it had this, you know, if it could demonstrate positive effects. It didn't say what it was actually, just hinted at it being something like meditation with music. I think there's more to it than that. But yeah, it needs to be faster. Or integrated into life more, you know. I mean, I wouldn't mind doing it if it was something, if it accompanied something I'm doing anyway, like this driving thing. I mean, I have tried meditating whilst driving. It just feels a bit dangerous. But if it was something like that, because I do about 2,500 miles a month right now. Probably more actually, probably like 3.5. And that's a lot of hours on the road, mostly on motorways, driving a really boring way, no changing of gears, you know, just straight speed all the way. If I could find a way to have that kind of effect whilst driving, then I'd soon clock up 10,000 hours. You know, I'd do that in a few years. I wouldn't mind doing that. Or sleeping, you know, if it was something that you did while you were asleep. Because I know sleeping is important for all kinds of other reasons, psychological reasons, I guess physiological. I kind of imagine it as the time when your brain defrags itself. But, you know, maybe there's other things it can be doing as well. Maybe it can be doing some of this other stuff that's meditation or integrated body-mind therapy does, whatever that is, increase the number of connections or whatever. Yeah, that'd be useful. I wouldn't mind, you know, last thing at night, you press a button and it plays this note or plays some music while you sleep. And that just does the magic brain thing to your head, that'd be great. But until that day, I shall continue to try meditating whilst driving. I'm doing it now.